function and numbered principle of secondary electric power equipment. Contents. 1. Familiar with the role of secondary electric power equipment. 2. Familiar with the composition and function of the secondary circuit of power equipment. 3. Be familiar with the classification of the secondary circuit drawings. 4. Familiar with the graphic symbols, text symbols and numbering principles of the secondary equipment. One. Familiar with the role of secondary electric power equipment. In power systems, it is usually divided into primary and secondary equipment according to the function of the electrical equipment. Primary equipment refers to the electrical equipment directly used for the production, transmission and distribution of electricity, including the generator, power transformer, circuit breaker, isolation switch, bus line, power cable and transmission lines, etc., which is the main body of the power system. Secondary electric power equipment. Secondary equipment is a low-voltage electrical equipment used for monitoring, measuring, controlling, protecting and regulating the running conditions of the primary equipment in the power system, including a relay protection device, measurement and control device, automatic device, operation monitoring signal, automatic monitoring system, communication equipment, etc. It also usually includes secondary winding leads wire of the voltage transformer and current transformer, and DC power supply for the station. To composition and function of secondary circuit of power equipment. A circuit connecting the secondary equipment together according to certain requirements is called secondary wiring or secondary circuit. Drawings describing the secondary wiring are called a secondary wiring diagram or a secondary circuit diagram. Secondary circuit is an important part of the power plant and substation, and an important guarantee for the safe, economic and stable operation of the power system. As shown below, distribution diagram of secondary winding of 220 kV line current transformer in open substation. And schematic grounding diagram of secondary winding of 220 kV line current transformer in open substation. The secondary circuit has various functions, mainly including the following contents. 1. Control system. The function of the control system is to trip and close the switchgear of the substation in place or in the distance, to meet the requirements of changing the operation mode of the main system and dealing power system faults. The control system consists of a control device, a control object, and a control network. In the comprehensive automatic substation, the control system control mode has two kinds: remote control and local control. Among them, the remote control has the substation terminal control and scheduling, or centralized control center, terminal control mode. The local control has operating mechanism and protection, or monitoring, screen control mode. 2. Signal system. The function of the signal system is to display the operation state of the corresponding primary equipment accurately and timely, and to provide a reliable basis for the operation, adjustment and fault treatment for the operators. The signal system is composed of a signal transmission mechanism, a signal receiving and display element, device, and its network. According to the nature of signal, it can be divided into position signal, abnormal signal and accident signal. Common position signals include circuit breaker position signal, various switch position signals, transformer gear signal, etc. Common abnormal signal and accident signals have protective action signal, device fault signal and various abnormal signals monitored by circuit breaker. Three. Measurement and testing system. The function of the measurement and monitoring system is to indicate or record the operation parameters of the electrical equipment and the transmission lines, as the basis for the operators to master the operation situation of the main system, fault handling and economic accounting. The measurement and monitoring system consists of various electrical measuring instruments, monitoring devices, switching switches and their networks. Substation is common with current, voltage, frequency, power, electricity and other measurement, AC, DC insulation monitoring system. 4. Adjustment system. The function of the adjustment system is to adjust the operating parameters of some main equipment to ensure the safety, economic and stable operation of the main equipment and power system. The adjustment system is composed of measuring mechanism, transmission equipment, automatic control device, actuator elements and its network. Common used adjustments are manual, automatic and semi-automatic. 5. Relay protection and automatic device system. The function of relay protection and automatic device is that when the power system fails, automatically, quickly and selectively remove the fault. Reduce the damage of the equipment, ensure the stability of the power system. Increase the reliability of power supply. Timely reflect the abnormal working state of the main equipment. Prompt the operators to pay attention to and processing. Ensure the integrity of the main equipment and the safety of the system. Relay protection and automatic device system consists of secondary winding of voltage and current transformer, relay protection device, automatic device, circuit breaker and its network. 6. Operating the power supply system. The operating power supply system is the working power supply for the above secondary systems, tripping, switching power supply and accident power supply of the circuit breaker. Under normal and fault conditions, it is usually composed of DC power supply equipment, including battery and charger, monitoring equipment and power supply network. 3. Classification of the secondary circuit drawings. According to the function of the drawings of the secondary circuit can be divided into schematic drawings and installation drawings. The schematic diagram is the drawing reflecting the working principle of the secondary circuit, which can be divided into centralized schematic diagram and expansion schematic diagram according to the form of its performance. The installation diagram is divided into layout drawing and installation wiring diagram according to its function. 1. Centralized schematic diagram. The centralized schematic diagram expresses the working principle in the drawing, such as the interconnected current circuit, voltage circuit and DC circuit, etc. Therefore, this wiring diagram is characterized by enabling the graph reader to have a clear overall concept of the composition of the whole secondary loop and the action process. The disadvantage is that the details of the secondary circuit are not enough, cannot indicate the actual position of the wiring between the elements, does not reflect the internal wiring, terminal label, circuit label of each element, which is not convenient for the maintenance and debugging on site, and is difficult for the complex secondary circuit reading. Therefore, in practical use, the expansion schematic diagram is widely used. As shown in Figure 1 is the centralized schematic diagram of overcurrent protection. (2) Expansion schematic diagram. The expansion schematic is divided by each independent power supply of the secondary circuit, such as AC current circuit, AC voltage circuit, DC control circuit, relay protection circuit and signal circuit, etc. According to this principle, the current coil, voltage coil and contacts belonging to the same element must be drawn in different circuits respectively. In order to avoid confusion, the coil, contacts belonging to the same element are represented by the same text symbol. The wiring of the expansion schematic is clear and easy to read, which is easy to master the operation process and working principle of the whole relay protection and the secondary circuit. Especially in the secondary circuit of the complex relay protection device, the expansion schematic shows its more prominent advantages. As shown in Figure 2, the overcurrent protection expansion schematic. (3) Layout drawing of the protective cabinet. The layout drawing of the protective cabinet is the basis for processing, manufacturing and installing the equipment on the cabinet. The arrangement of each element on the cabinet shall be determined according to the rationality of operation and considering the convenience of maintenance. Operation and construction, which shall be drawn according to a certain proportion and marked. The cabinet layout drawing is in front view to understand and be familiar with the configuration and arrangement order of the equipment, elements, on the cabinet from the front of the cabinet. Equipment, components, on the cabinet are numbered according to certain rules and text symbols. Text symbols are consistent and unique with the symbols on the expansion schematic to facilitate mutual access and control. The arrangement of the equipment, components, on the cabinet are based on the rationality of the operation and the convenience of maintenance, operation and construction. In the cabinet equipment table listed next to the cabinet diagram, the sequence number, symbol, name, model, technical parameters, quantity and quantity of each equipment element shall be indicated. If a device element is installed in the rear of the cabinet, it should be indicated in the remarks column of the equipment table. 4. Wiring diagram on the back of the cabinet. The wiring diagram on the back of the cabinet is based on the cabinet layout and the principal expansion diagram. It is the back view used by the staff when working behind the cabinet. Therefore, the arrangement of the equipment corresponds to the cabinet layout. And the left and right direction is just opposite to the cabinet layout drawing. For the convenience of wiring, each element and the terminal row are numbered by relative numbering in the installation wiring diagram to illustrate the mutual connection between these elements. The wiring diagram on the back of the cabinet can be divided into the equipment wiring diagram and the terminal row installation wiring diagram. The main function is to show the connection between the equipment elements in the cabinet and the back of the equipment elements and the terminal row. The latter is specially used to indicate the connection between the equipment in the cabinet and the off-cabinet equipment. Cables between the terminal block and devices on the cabinet are marked on the inside of the terminal block. Cable connections between the terminal block and devices outside the cabinet are marked outside the terminal block. The connection of the equipment outside the cabinet is mainly cable. Clearly the number, destination, cable number, core number and section of each cable should be marked. And each circuit shall be marked according to the principle of equal potential. 4. Graphic symbol, text symbol, numbering principle of the secondary equipment. 1. Drawing symbol. Graphical symbols are used to visually represent any device, element, functional unit, and other items in the secondary loop diagram. At present, graphic symbols for electrical map, Part 7, switch. Control and protection devices, GB/T4728.7-2008/IEC 60617 database, graphic symbols for electrical map, Part 8, measurement meters, lights and signal devices, GB/T4728.8-2008/IEC 60617 database, etc. The form, content and quantity of symbols are exactly the same as the currently used International IEC 60617 standards, but for a variety of reasons, some departments painted, used by the graphic symbols or earlier standards. In order to facilitate the design, manufacture, installation, commissioning and operation and maintenance, the graphic symbols and text symbols of the components are usually used on the drawings to connect according to certain rules to describe the secondary circuit. This kind of drawings we call the secondary circuit wiring diagram. The equipment, elements or functional units or other items in the secondary circuit wiring diagram must be illustrated with graphic symbols. Text symbols and circuit icon numbers. Graphic symbols and text symbols are used to represent and distinguish each electrical equipment in the secondary circuit, and the circuit icon number is used to distinguish the various circuits connected between the electrical equipment, the graphical symbols. Text symbols and circuit icon numbers in the secondary wiring diagram all have national and international standards. Components, devices and equipment are represented by graphical symbols in standard electrical diagrams and are drawn in their normal state. The normal state means that the elements, devices and equipment in the circuit has no voltage presence or no external force, such as the relay and contactor coil are not charged, or the passing voltage does not reach the action value. The isolation switch and circuit breaker in the disconnected position, buttons, travel switch in the shelf position, etc.as shown in figures 1, 2, and 3. Two, text symbols. Text symbols are used in combination with general graphic symbols as qualifying symbols. Hitch can distinguish different equipment, components, and items such as equipment, components, or functional units with different functions in the same equipment, components. In more detail, the general rule for compiling the codes of commonly used electrical equipment, components, is that the text symbols should be abbreviated according to the English terms specified in the relevant national standards or professional standards for electrical terminology. ND. The first letter of the word is used to form the text symbols, generally not more than 3 letters. One, mathematic serial number. It represents the serial number of similar equipment to distinguish the sequence number of similar equipment or elements in the same electrical drawing unit. For example, 1 TV. TV is a voltage transformer text symbol, and 1 represents the serial number of the same device, when the same electrical unit contains 2 or more devices or elements of the same set. Add numeric numbers in front of the basic text symbol. 2. Basic text symbol. Basic text symbols are a necessary item in the composition of text symbols used to represent the type of device or element. The basic text symbols are divided into single-letter symbols and two-letter symbols. The single-letter symbol uses the Latin alphabet to divide various electrical equipment and components into 23 categories, and each class is represented by a dedicated letter symbol. Two-letter symbols are used only when single-letter symbols cannot meet the requirements and require further division of the large classes. The combined form of two-letter symbols is a single-letter symbol in the anterior and another letter is listed in the posterior order. 3. Principles of numbering. 1. Equipment standard number. In the past, Roman numerals and Arabic numbers were commonly used for installation drawings with a large number of equipment in the screen box. At present, the computer protection cabinet usually uses 1N, 2N to indicate the device number of 2N. Three. Auxiliary letter symbol. Auxiliary text symbols are used to represent the functions, states, and main features of electrical equipment, devices, and components, and lines, usually consisting of the first 1 or 2 letters of an English word. Auxiliary text symbols are generally placed at the back of the basic text symbols to form the combined text symbols. Auxiliary text symbols cannot be used alone, but must be combined with the basic text symbols to form a complete text symbol. For example, V and A in TV and TA are all auxiliary text symbols, indicating the voltage and current, respectively. Knowledge preparation. Principle of device marking in the protection cabinet. In the Standardization Design Code of Q/GDW 1161-2014 Line Protection and Auxiliary Equipment, Q/GDW 1175-2013 Transformer, High Voltage Shunt Reactor and Bus Protection and Auxiliary Equipment. The standard principle of protective cabinet devices and their terminal rows is standardized. Details are given in Table 1 and Table 2. Basic knowledge of substation secondary circuit. Table 1 Line protection and auxiliary equipment labeling principle. Table 2 Component protection and auxiliary device labeling principles. Two, Equipment terminal designation. Each device has clear labels on its terminals when it leaves the factory. When drawing the installation wiring diagram, these labels should be expressed according to their arrangement relationship and relative position so as to obtain the correspondence between the drawings and the real objects. For terminal strips, they are usually numbered in Arabic numeral order from left to right and top to bottom, not by adding the device number and wiring number together. Each terminal has a unique relative number. Commonly used is the installation unit label or equipment name terminal label format. For example, in Figure 4, 1D, 1 is marked next to the terminal 1 whose device name is 1N, indicating that the terminal is connected to the 1 terminal whose device name is 1D, terminal block. Equivalently, the 1 terminal of 1D is marked with 1N, 1, which means that the terminal is connected to the 1 terminal of 1N. Equivalently, the 1 terminal of 1D is marked with 1N, 1, which means that the terminal is connected to the 1 terminal of 1N. Mastering the equivalence principle of the relative labeling method will help us find the actual wiring on the cabinet according to the schematic diagram, or reverse the principle of wiring according to the wiring diagram. Three, Opposite terminal labeling method. For the convenience of wiring. In the installation wiring diagram, the relative labeling method is used to label each component and terminal block to illustrate the mutual connection relationship between these components. This method adopts the principle of equivalence, that is, either end of each connecting wire is marked with the label and terminal number of the equipment connected to the opposite side, so the labels at both ends of the same wire are different. A relative number represents a terminal, and a pair of relative numbers represents a connection wire. The terminals to be connected are clearly found on the diagram, but the lines are not visible. Thank you for watching it.